Hi, everyone. I'm Wiley Blevins, author and publisher, and I'd like to welcome you to the Friday for episode 1. Each Friday, I will be featuring 4 new children's books. These books, some of them are produced by me at Raycraft Books. Others are from other publishers that I feel just haven't gotten the love that they deserve. Not every book has a lot of marketing dollars behind it, but there's so many amazing books and I hope to present for each week to really help the discoverability of these hidden gems. So let's take a look at this week's Friday 4. Let's start with My Hands Tell a Story by Geisel Award winner Kelly Starling Lyons and illustrated by the uber talented Tonya Engels. This book has received a star from both School Library Journal and Publishers Weekly. What's it about? A little girl baking bread with her grandmother becomes transported by the tales her grandmother's hands tell, those that spring from the rose painted nails, a flower banded wedding ring, and the way her fingers move and glide. These hands have many tales to tell, but only if you listen. And let's take a peek inside at some of the beautiful art. Hornbook wrote that this story spreads joy like a dusting of flour on warm dough. One of the amazing things about this book, and one of the reasons why I think children will really love it, is it honors the stories that we all have. Maybe we don't realize how wonderful those stories are and how wonderful it would be to share them. But throughout the story, this little girl not only discovers the stories of her grandmother, but her own stories and the stories that she hopes to one day write. A great book to share with young children. It can be used in classrooms as a wonderful writing prompt. The next book is Blood Brothers by award-winning author Rob Sanders. You might know Rob's nonfiction picture books. This is his first middle grade novel, and it is a novel in verse, and it was just named as a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selection. This novel is about 3 young hemophiliac brothers who experience hate, prejudice, and ostracism during the approaching AIDS epidemic in the 1980s America. This book is historical fiction, but is based on the true story of 3 brothers who lived many of the really challenging and life-altering events shared in this book. As you can see, it is a novel in verse and beautifully laid out to evoke strong emotion from the reader as you go through it. And speaking of emotion, other writers have taken notice of this book. E. Lockhart, author of We Were Lions, describes this book as a lightning bolt to the heart. And our beloved Jane Yolen says this startling, moving powerhouse of a verse novel should be read by every middle grader and YA reader in the US, actually in the world. It is a book that will stick with you long after you read it. My advice is to sit down with a box of Kleenex and enjoy. It is just one of these novels that you just can't let go of, and I think it's Rob's masterpiece. The third book is an informational book called Moon Tree. I was really intrigued by this story. It's written by Carolyn Bennett Fraser and illustrated by Simona Mulazani. It has a very strong STEM connection, a connection to NASA, which we'll learn about in a second. It was also recently named a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selection. What's this book about? A little girl finds a sycamore tree named a moon tree and wonders why. When no one knows, not even NASA, her third grade class is determined to find the answer. Their quest does lead them to NASA, an extraordinary boy who grew up to be an astronaut, a broken metal container, and a story more fascinating than you could have ever imagined. This story really amazed me when I first read it, and it's the kind of book that will spark the imaginations of young children, which is what great nonfiction can do. Let me give you a peek look at the insides. You can see the boy who grew up to be an astronaut, how he became intrigued by planes and flying. And when he went to the moon, he carried with him a metal box full of seeds. Those box of seeds returned to Earth, they were planted all around the United States, and those are called moon trees. In the back of the book, there's actually a listing of where moon trees are. And most people who read this book race to the back to see if there's a moon tree located near them. What is really, really interesting is because NASA has rediscovered that they did this many years ago, they are actually going to take some more seeds into space on Artemis, and we are going to have some future moon trees. So this book is highly relevant to children today as well. And the last book is Voices of the People by renowned author Joseph Bruchac. I consider this Joe's masterpiece. It was also recently named a Junior Library Guild Gold Standard Selection. This is a book that I personally worked on, and it really is a book of my heart. It is sort of my dream book when it comes to really sharing the stories and the beauty and the art and the history of Native American peoples. In this book, through poems that capture the essence of each person's life, acclaimed Native American writer Joseph Bruchac introduces readers to famous indigenous leaders from the Peacemaker in 1000 AD to modern-day dancer Maria Tall Chief and Cherokee Chief Wilma Mankiller. Each poem is illustrated by a modern-day tribally enrolled artist. So what I wanted to do was to pair Joe's amazing poems, really evocative poems with contemporary Native American artists that are telling some of the same stories, expressing some of the same issues and concerns. So for example, here you see these buffaloes that are racing away from this UFO, but the UFO really represents the colonizers. So a young reader will look at this and see the colors and the beauty and the movement of the buffalo, but an older reader will see this and understand the meaning, the deeper meaning behind the art. And so this is the kind of book that is for upper elementary, middle school, high school, and adults. It can be appreciated by children and adults of all ages. I want to take you inside the book just to see some of the people who are covered and some of the beautiful art. The athlete Jim Thorpe, everyone knows about Pocahontas. There'll be people that you might not know about, like Gertrude Simmons, but everyone should know about her amazing life and her incredible contributions. In addition to art, there are incredible photographs taken by Native American artists, and you'll see that the name of the artist and their tribal affiliation is included on the page beside their art so that people know who they are and what nation or tribe they represent. Here's a beautiful photograph of Maria Tallchief, the prima ballerina, who was also a friend of Joseph Bruchac's. And this photograph is just one of the most beautiful photographs I've seen in a very long time. In addition to art and photographs, there are found objects. This particular basket, inside you see these red pieces of material, and they have the names of hundreds of Native American women to honor their lives as well. Here's some other pieces of art with found objects. Some of the pieces of art are very evocative. They have deeper meanings, and they will spark really incredible conversations among readers. This is Charles Alexander Eastman, who helped to found the Boy Scouts. This one I particularly like because here you have an old photograph of Native Americans with their bows and arrows, and layered on top was this video game, 1491, and we all know what happens in 1492. And this is my favorite, Sequoia, who created the Cherokee syllabary. This is from a Cherokee artist, and it's called Cherokee on the Brain, and you actually see the syllabary on the brain. In the back of this book, there is back matter that has more details about the person's life. Joe Bruchac's poems really capture the essence of why they were important and why we should know about them, and then there's some additional detail in the back matter. So those are the 4 for Friday. Please contact me on Twitter at @WBNY if you'd like to get your book featured. And please join me every Friday for the Friday 4. Have a great day, everyone, and happy reading.